Hello, everyone, and welcome in to another week of our psychoeducation group for couples. Really glad that you've joined us here. It's Friday. Hope you have an awesome weekend this weekend. It's been a great week for me. I hope it's been a great week for you, and hope you have a great weekend. If you're watching this at another time, hope you're having a great week. And I'm really glad that you've tuned in. Really appreciate you watching here today. So I think I said last week, or maybe the week before, that we were going to be wrapping this group up either this week or next week. We're actually going to extend that at least one more week. So our final week for this group will be either 2 weeks from now on August 23rd, Friday, August 23rd, or Friday, August 30th. It just depends on what we want to cover here. But we have a few more things we want to get to. And again, our goal is to help you. And if you've got questions, if you've got comments, if you've got topics that you think would be helpful for us to talk about with this group, let us know, and we will try to get to those. Um, so I'm gonna try to monitor the chat here. Hey, look, I'm seeing one right now. Kiera from it's another counseling intern here, and I have not done a good job at managing the chat. I kind of didn't really know how to do it on our streaming service here, but I figured it out. It was actually pretty easy. It was right in front of me, and I'm seeing some comments now. So really appreciate it, Kiara. And anybody, if you have comments, I can see them now. You kind of have to flip through the different avenues like YouTube and Facebook, but I'm on Facebook right now and I'm seeing some comments. Really appreciate that. So if you have comments, questions, I'll try to look at those as I'm going. And, if you have some later, you can send them to us and we will try to get to those as well. But we here at Joanna Ministries, we want to help you out, and we have a great team that can work with you. So really appreciate you being here again. Today's topic is another really good one, really important one, and it's healing from betrayal. And what we're talking about with healing from betrayal is really looking at like infidelity and cheating. And I'm sure betrayal can happen in other forms, but that's really what I'm looking at today is within a couple relationship, within a husband and wife or a boyfriend and girlfriend, what have you. One betraying the other by going behind their back and cheating on them, being with somebody else while they're in this relationship. And that's really what we're going to look at here today. And let's just face the facts, folks. Unfortunately, this happens all too often. Betrayal and infidelity, cheating, it happens all the time. And people are hurt, and it leaves a lot of scars and wounds, and it really messes up the trust. It really messes up the relationship. It brings like cracks within the foundation of the relationship. So that's why I wanted to talk about it, is because it's such a prevalent thing that keeps happening. It happens to a lot of people, and it hurts, right? And if you're not affected, directly by it, like if you've never been cheated on or you've never cheated, you probably know somebody who has had this happen. And I certainly do. It's happened within my own family. And so this is a topic that is, relevant to a lot of people. And so I hope this could be helpful for you here today in some way. So I wanted to start off by talking about the why. Why do people cheat, right? It's a question that people ask, I think regularly, like even if you haven't been cheated on, even if you yourself haven't cheated, I think this is a question you may have thought about at least before, like why, what drives people to do that? And so this is also one of the main questions, I think, when people have been cheated on. They want to know why. Like, why did my partner do this? What was the motive behind it? What drove them to do this to hurt me? What drove them to break the trust, to bring in these cracks within the relationship? What caused them to do that? And again, even if you haven't been cheated on, even if you yourself haven't cheated, it's good to know these things and be watchful for them, and to prevent from some of these things from creeping into the relationship. So healing from the betrayal. Why does that happen though? Like, why do people cheat? Well, a 2021 study was done by a man named Selterman. His last name is Selterman, and others in 2021. And unfortunately, you can't see that down there in the corner because I have this little caption thing here. So there's the source there. Selterman et al. 2021 did a study of 495 participants. And in that, they revealed 8 motives for cheating, 8 motives that they found for cheating. And here's the 8: anger, low self-esteem, lack of love, low commitment, need for variety, neglect, sexual desire, and circumstance or opportunity. So let me break each one of these down very quickly for you. Again, this is just one study, by the way, in 2021, but it has been one that's been cited a lot here recently, and I think it's a well done study. Um, but here are the 8 motives for cheating, or the reasons behind why somebody might cheat. Number one is anger. You may be thinking, well, why would anger lead someone to cheat? Well, there may be some resentment and hateful feelings built up for your partner, and you may be so angry at them that you may want to get them back. It's kind of like this revenge aspect. So the anger drives you to cheat on them, to do something harmful in the relationship, but you're kind of like trying to get them back. But maybe even if the revenge isn't there, you just may be so angry and so fed up in the relationship that you go and cheat, that you go and break that trust and go around with somebody else. So anger could be one of the first reasons why people cheat. Number two is low self-esteem. And again, you may be thinking, why would a low self-esteem lead to cheating? Well, you think about it, if somebody has low self-esteem and is not really feeling good about themselves, not really feeling good within the relationship, and then they notice that there's somebody else who's interested in them, right? Well, that's a little boost to the self-esteem, right? It's okay. Wow, this person thinks I'm attractive. This person, thinks I'm funny, or other likes my personality in some other way, and so it kind of boosts that personality. And it's like, okay, wow, this person that's not my spouse, that's not my partner, they're catching my eye and they're boosting my self-esteem, and so I'm going to talk to them, and it just kind of snowballs from there. So maybe that's a part of the reason why people do it, is like it's kind of a self-esteem boost, and that low self-esteem is kind of being built up a little bit by somebody else, and they kind of dive into that with them a little bit more. Lack of love, right? This can encapsulate a lot of different things here, but my mind really goes to this idea of, you've heard it before, that people say, I love you, or I love this person, but are you in love with that person, right? um what we talk about with like being in love is like, are the fires of the relationship still there? Like, is there still like intimacy in the bedroom? Like, is there still fire in the bedroom? Is there still affection? Is there still quality time spent together, enjoying that together? Like, that's what we're talking about, like being in love, having those fun times together, so on and so forth. Like, when that's not there, the relationship kind of grows cold, right? And we may start looking for those experiences in other places. Like, folks, let's face it, we all want to have a relationship like that, where the love it's on fire, where the sex is good, where the fun times are happening regularly, we're spending quality time together, we have common interests, we're friends, we know each other deeply. Like, we all want that type of relationship. And then, so if you enter into a relationship and those things kind of die out, you may find it somewhere else. And that's why people, cheat. I think one of the reasons why. Our Joanna Snow here, who owns the our counseling site here and runs the place here, she has said, it's like putting a wood on a fire, right? Eventually, that fire could burn for a while, but eventually it can burn out if you're not continuing to put wood on the fire, continue to put fuel on that fire. It's eventually going to die out. So that happens in relationships sometimes. Unfortunately, people are not, continuing to put the wood on the fire, if you will, or to put the fuel in the fire, and it dies out, and then someone might look for it in other places. And that's why cheating may happen. That's another reason, the lack of love there between partners. Next is the low commitment. We talked about commitment and trust last week in our last session, and trust and commitment was a topic there. We talked about those are pillars of a relationship. If trust is not there, if commitment is not there, the walls of a relationship house crumble. And so commitment is the idea that I am dedicated to this relationship. I am in it thick and thin. And you can feel that in a relationship when that's there and when it's not there. And when it's not there, that opens up, kind of that crack in the wall, if you will, and may lead someone to look for that in other places, right? So lack of love, but also lack of commitment. Low commitment leads to relationship problems and can lead someone into cheating. Need for variety, right? Some people they just feel like they have to have more than just one person, I guess, or one experience, right? And some people may just, crave that variety and crave having different experiences with different people. And so that might be one reason why someone cheats, right? That they decide to want a different experience, want more variety, want something different than the person that they've got, while still keeping that person. They want some other variety, right? So that's another reason why neglect. And I think this one is huge. In fact, when I have seen couples where there's been infidelity, I think this is kind of the number one thing is that emotional needs are being neglected, right? That they feel like they're not being seen, they feel like they're not being heard in the relationship. And so they go look for it in other places, right? We talked about several weeks ago about intimacy and how to build that intimacy. And one of the big things in intimacy is meeting one another's emotional needs. And we talked about in the Marriage Builders website, Dr. Willard Hardley has an assessment for assessing your emotional needs in a relationship. And there's like a list of 11 or 12 of them, I think. But you fill out the questionnaire and then you know your emotional needs. And love languages kind of are along these lines, like physical touch, quality time, things like that. If those things go neglected, if we're not meeting each other's needs, right, there can be like a gaping hole there, right? And we talked about those love banks, right, where each of us have these love banks where we keep an account of our interactions with others. And with our significant other, at one point, the love bank, so to speak, their account was high, right? They were filling up our bank, if you will. They were filling up our bucket, if you will. But sometimes it kind of dies out, and we start neglecting one another. We stop filling that love bank, if you will. We stop filling the bucket, and our needs go unmet. And then we start looking for it in other places. Maybe that's why, like, at least what some people do is they feel like they're not getting their needs met. Maybe it's they're not getting their sexual needs met. Maybe it's they're not getting the quality time that they want, and so they go look for it in another place and another person, and that's opened up the cheating, the infidelity. So neglect, I think, is one of the big ones because over time, couples kind of, at first are really good at meeting each other's needs, and then it kind of dies out as time goes on. And then someone might look for it in another person. Sexual desire, some people, this is the next one. Some people just have a higher sexual desire than others. And many times it's men who do, and men look for, like, maybe that sexual desire is not being met, or maybe it is being met, but they just want more. Like, they just want more and more and more, and so they go find it in other places. Some people just have a higher drive than others, and so they go find it in other people aside from their spouse or aside from their partner, and that opens up that cheating. Circumstance, that's the last one, or opportunity. Sometimes people just unfortunately get into situations where it's really just it's just there's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of circumstances that can lead you to sleep with another person or to begin engaging in a relationship with another person. And so the circumstances just sometimes are just there, and people take them, right? So those are the 8 reasons that this study had provided for why people cheat. Now let me say this, right? This does not take away the responsibility of the partner who cheated, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say here is this, like, even if there is low commitment in a relationship, I'm just using one example, that doesn't mean you have to cheat, right? Even if you need variety, you feel like you're a person who craves variety, that doesn't mean you have to cheat, right? Doesn't mean you have to do that. Even if even if you are angry, that doesn't mean you have to cheat, right? Even if you have a circumstance where you're in a spot where, man, it's really easy for me to sleep with somebody else or to engage in a relationship with somebody else, it doesn't mean you have to, right? So I don't want anyone to think that like that's what we're saying here. Like, it's definitely a choice to cheat, right? I don't want anyone to get another idea because, people sometimes say, well, it just happened, right? It just happened that I cheated. No, you made the choice. It is a choice to cheat. It is a choice to engage in a relationship with somebody else beside your spouse or your partner. That is a choice that you made. Now, yes, there may have been things that kind of led to that, but you ultimately made that choice. You didn't have to sleep with somebody else. You didn't have to start messaging someone else and talking to someone else and so on and so forth. That is a choice you made. So um ultimately, these are things that people say, well, yeah, this led me to it. But ultimately, it is a choice that they made. Um, so I want to make sure that the responsibility part is here, because at some point accountability has to be taken. Like, I did it. Like, I cheated, and it's on me, right? And we can't blame it on other things. So these are just reasons people give for having cheated, or why they think people would cheat, are these reasons here. So let me give you some other ones here, some risk factors. So, like, basically, these are some things that, like, if these are part of your lifestyle or your life, well, it could possibly be a risk factor for cheating, like lead to cheating. So um, number one would be substance abuse. Let's just face it, folks. Alcohol, drugs, they are dangerous. And many, many times cheating takes place because people are drunk, people are high, whatever it may be, and they don't know what they're doing, or may not be fully aware of what they're doing, and they do something that they maybe didn't want to do. Some people, yeah, maybe did get drunk for that purpose. Like, I'm going to go get drunk and I'm going to sleep with somebody, right? Maybe they did that, but some people, I do think they get drunk and they don't know what they're doing and they cheat. So substance abuse, like getting drunk, getting high, those things can lead easily into cheating. Can lead to a circumstance where, man, it's easy to sleep with somebody else or to be with somebody else that's not your spouse. So if you have a penchant for drinking and smoking things or whatever it may be, like, watch out. Like, that could open the door for some situations you may not want to be in. um, Attachment style, we've talked about this. I said at the outset, that was our first session we did, was attachment styles in romantic relationships. And um, I said it was going to come into play, and attachment styles do. Like, some people have avoidant attachment styles where they're afraid of closeness, and so when someone gets too close to them, like a romantic partner gets too close to them, right? They get a little afraid. They get a little afraid of the closeness, and so they might turn to cheating. Like, they might turn to somebody else and break that relationship off. So our attachment styles can kind of affect or be a risk factor for cheating, right? Even the anxious, right? The anxious attachment style, like, they're always wondering, what's my partner doing? Where's my partner been? Like, I'm worried about being cheated on. I'm worried about being betrayed. And so maybe it could possibly happen that, like, they feel so anxious that my partner's not there for me. Like, what are they doing? They may go themselves, engage in another relationship to feel safe, right? So attachment styles, if you have like an anxious or avoidant attachment style, or anxious avoidant, like a mixture of the two, that could be a risk factor for cheating. And kind of the insecurities in a relationship, could lead you to engaging in some infidelity. Exposures to infidelity. If you maybe have a parent, like parents who committed adultery, or cheated on their, yeah, your other parent, then that kind of can be a risk factor because you've seen it, you've been there, you've seen that happen, you've seen it play out, and that could kind of stick in your mind, and maybe lead to, well, my dad or my mom did it, and it worked out this way, so on and so forth. Right? There's a lot of things we could dive into too with that. I'm just saying that could be a risk factor, is the exposure to infidelity, having seen it before. Psychological issues, right? And what I mean here, like, just for an example, like narcissistic personality disorder, right? People who are narcissistic kind of see it, no, it's all about them and kind of wrapped up in themselves. And that's just one example, but like, those type of people who have narcissistic personality disorder, they, maybe it's all about me. It's all about how I feel. And, so I can engage in something outside of this relationship to get what I want, so on and so forth. And other psychological issues could also be a risk factor for cheating, right? And to breaking a relationship. Lack of communication, right? When there is lack of a communication in a relationship, right, it can start opening up doors for others to creep in, right? When you're not communicating with your spouse or your partner, and things start to kind of deteriorate, like that's how we get to know one another. That's how we keep relationships alive, is communicating. And when that's not there, someone might find it somewhere else. So lack of communication can be another risk factor. Emotional and physical distance. Now, these last few are like things within a relationship, risk factors that are happening in a relationship. So lack of communication in a relationship, emotional and physical distance. We've kind of already touched on this, but like when the distance is growing between you, when you're not connecting and sharing emotionally and sharing physically, that distance is growing, and one might start looking for it somewhere else. So emotional and physical distance is a huge risk factor. And then stressors, right? So if there are so many stressors in the relationship, there's so many things that are just piling on the relationship, and it's heightening you emotionally, and bringing on anxious feelings and fearful feelings. Right? If that continues to happen in the relationship, you may like just quote unquote want a break or want to get away from it, and you seek that in somebody else. So these are some risk factors for cheating, things to watch out for, things to be aware of. This is not an exhaustive list. Please understand that we don't have the time to talk about an exhaustive list. These are just risk factors for cheating. So at this point, kind of talked about why people cheat. What are the reasons why people cheat, right? Here's that again, and here's some risk factors for cheating. If you've experienced it, it hurts. It is painful. It's like a loss. It's like we've been doing a grief group, and you can grieve, the infidelity. We're doing a grief group on Tuesdays, and so it hurts. How do you heal? How do you heal from that? Like, what are some things you can do to heal from infidelity? Well, I found a really great resource. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these captions again because it's gonna be down there on the bottom. There was a relationship coach by the name of Susie. I think it's Susie Johnson here. Let's just go to the next one here. Yeah, Susie Johnson. And she has this website where she has, she's a relationship coach, relationship expert, and she's evidently dealt with a lot of betrayal. And so she came out with these 5 steps in recovering from cheating, recovering from betrayal. And there are other resources out there. I'll give you some other tips at the end that are not from Susie Johnson. But I thought this was really, really spot on and sharp. I thought it was really well done. And so I want to go through these very quickly to help you recover from cheating. So some of this is kind of like metaphor, so you may not understand it until we get to it. But like this first one, take the escalators instead of the stairs. We'll get to what that means here, but that's just the first point. Separate the pain from the feeling of powerlessness. That's number 2. Number 3, don't let the fear of recurrence win. Number 4, remove obstacles to healing. And number 5, make the decision to heal. Those are the 5 steps that Susie Johnson came up with to recover from infidelity, to recover from cheating. So let's dive into these real quickly. And we'll just kind of talk about each one of these as we go. So number 1, take the escalators instead of the stairs. Really, let me get to this quote, and I'll come back to this one. So when you're suffering, all right, she says, take the escalators instead of the stairs. This means you need to do everything in your power to fast track your way out of the stages of suffering as soon as you can. So in essence, what Susie Johnson is saying is that in this time of pain and extreme hurt, she's saying instead of taking the slower route, the stairs, Get on the escalators, find the fast track, the faster way to get up to this point of healing, right? Instead of sitting in the pain and the hurt forever or slower, go to the escalators, if you will, go to the fast track. So she points to these stages of suffering. There are four stages of suffering. It's disbelief, bargaining, resistance, and then seeking and learning. And won't dive into each one of those. We've kind of dove into some of that in our grief group on Tuesday nights. But for the sake of time, that's just, she says that there are four stages of suffering. And she's saying we need to get out of those stages of suffering, of the being wrapped up in the pain, and then work our way into the stages of healing, the learning, the acceptance, the transcendence. That's where we need to get to. And so she says, we got to do what we can do to fast track our way out of the pain, out of the suffering, and into the healing. Now, I'm not saying that this happens overnight, and that's not what Susie Johnson is saying either. But I think what she is saying is that there's many people in these situations, they get stuck in the pain. They are just so engulfed in the pain. They get stuck there, and it maybe for months and even years maybe, and they can't get to the point of healing. They can't get to the stages of healing where they can kind of work through these problems. And again, we're not saying it's easy. That's far from what Susie Johnson's saying, far from what I'm saying. It's not easy. But what we want to do is get ourselves to this point of healing. And that may take a long time to heal, but we want to get to the stages of healing quicker. We want to get there. So that's what the rest of the points are about, is how do we get to that point where we are, quote unquote, taking the escalator instead of the stairs? How do we get to that point where we're fast tracking our way out of being engulfed in the pain? How do we get to the point where we're healing? Well, she points to separating the pain from the feeling of powerlessness. So she points to this idea, and I think it's spot on, that pain and powerless are not the exact same thing. Okay. What ends up happening is people feel so engulfed in the pain and the hurt of what they've experienced, of the betrayal, and they feel like they can't do anything. They feel like they have no power to act, no power to do anything. And folks, that's not true. You still have power. The only thing that's keeping you from doing something is you, right? Powerlessness is a learned reaction. It's a learned reaction from what you've experienced. You're in so much pain, you're in fear, and you feel like you don't have the power to do anything. So Susie Johnson says this: unfortunately, linking pain with powerlessness only takes a bad situation and makes it worse. Therefore, you take a big step towards healing when you acknowledge that although you might be in pain, you are not powerlessness. You are not powerless. Sorry. I think she's right. Like, pain and powerless, or pain, it already hurts, right? It demoralizes us. The pain of being betrayed is immense. The pain of a broken relationship, man, that hurts. But when you feel like you can't do anything about it, when you feel like you are powerless and there's nothing you can do to make it right, nothing you can do to heal, that makes it worse. It's like almost digging the hole deeper, digging the wound deeper. So you take a step towards that healing process. You're making your way towards healing when you realize that, yes, I am hurting, but I still have it within me to act. I still have the power to heal. I still have it within me to make things right. I still can do something about this. So um, realize that you are not powerless. That yes, you are in pain, but you still have the power to act. You are not powerless. And I think that's just a good thing to acknowledge, right? Separating that pain from powerlessness is really important. The next thing she points of it to is, don't let the fear of recurrence win. Don't let the fear of recurrence win. So we'll get to really what that means here in just a second. But Susie points to three assessments that a betrayed partner makes. Number one is a risk assessment. Is my partner worth a second chance? Right? Is it worth it to let them back in and to give it a second go? Right? Second is a predictive assessment. What's the likelihood of this happening again? Like, again, what's the likelihood of this recurring? That's the idea of recurrence there. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. But what's the likelihood of this happening again, them cheating on me again, them doing this again? And then finally, the future pain assessment. What if I'm hurt again? Right? What am I going to do if this does happen again? If I feel these feelings again? Those things are all swirling in a person's mind when they are betrayed. Is these three assessments, right? Is it worth giving them a second chance? Is it likely to happen again? What if I'm hurt again? And really, what Susie Johnson says, the relationship coach here, she says that all of these are motivated by what? By fear, right? It's a fear that, right? Think about the risk assessment. Is my partner worth a second chance? It's the fear that, man, may not work out, right? Or the what's the likelihood of this happening again? It's the fear that, okay, they might cheat on me again, or I might be hurt again. It's all connected to fear, right? So that kind of brings us to what fear really is. It's this overwhelming feeling of a negative result. Like fear is this feeling that something bad is going to happen, right? And when someone's been betrayed, that's what's happening. Like fear is obviously a reaction that's going to happen. That fear of, okay, what if this happens again? And that's what she says is the greatest. Susie Johnson says is the greatest fear that people have who have been betrayed is the fear of recurrence. That this fear is going that this is going to happen again. That they're going to cheat on me again, right? And so she basically says, like, we can't let the fear of recurrence win because we really don't know if that's going to happen again. That's like predicting the future, right? So here's what she says. Fear of recurrence is created when we predict a painful future, the betrayal happening again, and then make a painful image of how that future moment would feel if it were happening right now. So what she says is that people who have been betrayed, who have felt this betrayal, who have been cheated on, right? They basically have this image in their mind, like they're predicting this painful future happening again. And they take it and kind of feel that pain in the present. Like, oh man, that would hurt so bad if this happened again. That would just be the worst thing if this happened again. And you're already sitting in pain, right? You're already sitting in the hurt of it happening the first time around. And so you're feeling it. You're predicting that happening in the future and you're feeling it in the present, right? And so what Susie Johnson basically says is like, we don't know if that's going to happen again. Yes, it happened once. It happened once, but we don't know if that's going to happen in the future. So she gave this illustration. She said that she met with some type of like judge or something like that, and he gave them this judge gave her a quote: "Better a guilty man goes free than an innocent man goes to jail." Again, better a guilty man goes free than an innocent man goes to jail. What we're doing when we have that fear of recurrence is basically twisting that around and saying better an innocent man goes to jail than a guilty man goes free, right? Again, what we're doing is kind of taking that and we're like, let me go ahead and say this. They are guilty of doing it one time, right? They've cheated. They've done wrong, right? They've hurt you. But what we're doing with this fear of recurrence is basically saying that they're going to do this again or that they have done it again. And we're feeling it in the present. But here's the thing. We don't know what they're going to do in the future. The future hasn't happened. And so to predict that that's going to happen is basically like convicting an innocent person, right? Because they haven't done it again, right? They haven't broken that trust again. They did it that one time, right? And we're not downplaying that. But what we're saying is that fear of recurrence is this fear of what might happen in the future, right? And so it holds us captive. It holds us in pain even more in the present when we're fearing the recurrence. We're fearing that recurrence of happening again. So of the cheating happening again. So we can't let the fear of recurrence win. We can't let that overcome us, right? So that's kind of the other thing that she pointed to was not letting that fear of recurrence win. The next thing is removing the obstacles to healing. Removing the obstacles to healing. So really what ends up happening a lot of times is that we kind of get in our own way, right? We kind of step into our own way of healing and we kind of prevent ourselves to healing. And I know people say well, that just sounds ridiculous that I would prevent myself from healing. But it's not something that we may be doing consciously. We may be doing it subconsciously, right? We may be like subconsciously preventing ourselves from moving forward. So the six obstacles to healing, she says, number one is staying angry gives me power, right? It's this idea that if I just remain angry, right, and I can maybe use that against them, the person who's hurt me, the person who's hurt me or betrayed me, I can use that against them. And here's the thing, folks, anger typically is a cover up for something deeper inside, right? Anger typically is just like a facade for something that's going on deeper inside. And so staying angry really doesn't give you power at all. And it's really only going to hurt even worse. So we've got to work on letting the anger subside. Number two is staying hurt gives me control, right? It's like if I am if I stay hurt, well, I can remain in control of this whole situation. Staying hurt gives me this control over this hurt and this pain, and it kind of goes along with that other one there. Like staying hurt will teach them a lesson, meaning like if I will be hurt. If I just remain hurt, that staying hurt will teach them a lesson is that fourth one there. If I remain hurt and they see me in this pain, I can use that against them and it'll teach them a lesson that look what you've done to me. Right. And again, it's like, okay, I've got control over them. If I stay hurt, well, then I can just use it against them. I can, just show them my pain and show them how much they've hurt me, and so on and so forth. But really, like staying hurt, right? You're not working through your problems. You're not working through the pain. You're not working through the hurt. And really, it's going to hurt the relationship even further. Um, so we got to remove those obstacles. It's not your responsibility to heal, she then says, is another obstacle. It's an obstacle to say it's not your responsibility to heal. Here's what ends up happening is that people who are betrayed, they end up saying things like, well, it's the responsibility of the person who hurt me to come help me. It's the responsibility of the person who hurt me to make this right. And here's the thing, she likens it to a bee. It's like asking a bee who stings you to come and heal the sting, the pain from the sting. And that's most of the time not going to happen. And I'm not saying that in all cases, someone who cheats is not willing to make things work. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying expecting somebody else to make things right is not the right way to go about it. Even if it wasn't your actions that caused the hurt, it's still your responsibility to heal. It's still your responsibility to get up and to do something about it. I know that hurts. I know that's a harsh reality sometimes, but it is still on you to heal. It's your responsibility to still work through this, to still get through the pain that you're feeling, the struggles that you're going through. It's not on somebody else. So you can't rely on somebody else for that. So it's your responsibility to heal. And the more you put that responsibility off, the more you're going to sit in the pain and the hurt. So it's not your responsibility to heal is an obstacle. Staying hurt will teach them a lesson, kind of already touched on that. Healing means they win, right? A lot of people don't want to heal because they believe that if I heal, well, then they win, right? If I get through this pain, well, then it's letting them off the hook, so to speak. And folks, that's just not true, right? It doesn't make sense for you to have to stay in pain, for you to have to stay in hurt. And so healing does not necessarily mean that they win, right? That's not what that means. And we've got to overcome that belief. And then also, it's too soon to heal is another obstacle, right? It's this, well, I've got to be in pain for a little while and show them, or I've got to, follow the quote unquote routine of what everybody else does when they, not routine is not the right word. I guess the progression of others who have been betrayed. And so I can't heal until such and such a time, right? No, folks, it's not too soon to heal, right? It's your choice to heal when you get to make that decision. And so um, that's kind of these are kind of the obstacles to healing, these 6 obstacles that Susie Johnson say that will actually prevent you from healing. It's staying angry, staying hurt, saying it's not your responsibility, saying that healing makes them win, and saying it's too soon to heal. These are obstacles that we have to overcome. And those are the obstacles that Susie Johnson points to there. So the last thing that Susie Johnson points to is making the decision to heal, right? Healing is a choice to be made, right? It's something that you have to come to terms with, that like, I've got to make this decision to heal. I've got to get up and choose that I want to overcome, right? That I want to make a better way forward, right? And so um, we've got to be able to come to that decision that I don't want to sit in this pain anymore. I want to heal. And this doesn't mean that we're trying to rush through it or trying to just, sugarcoat what happened. No, it's that I'm going to make this decision that I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want our relationship to be like this. I want to overcome. I want to work through this. It's a decision, right? It's a decision on your part. So she points to this process of healing, that suffering is I'm in pain and can't do anything about it, right? That's this spot that unfortunately a lot of people stay in, that I'm in pain, I can't do anything about it. Again, it's that powerlessness that we talked about a few minutes ago. There's no change happening there. There's no healing happening there. Contemplation, that's now thinking about healing. I wish I could do something with the pain. I wish I could do something. And you start thinking about maybe ways to do it. But here's the thing, there's a difference between thinking about it and actually doing it, right? There's a difference between I wish I could do something or I want to do something and actually making that jump to do something. So that's the last point, is the decision, the actual choice. I choose to do something about the pain. I choose to heal. I choose to remove these obstacles. I choose to not be powerless. I choose to do something about this pain. And so I'd encourage you to go look this up. Just type in Susie Johnson betrayal repair or something along those lines, and you'll find this. And you'll find some other things. I probably didn't do a great job of explaining removing these obstacles, but she actually gives a little bit of tips of how to remove these obstacles as well. So search that up, and point to those things it will point to those things that can help you through the betrayal. Um, but I wanted to point to some other tips very quickly that could help you through a betrayal. Okay, number one, seek counseling. I know we talked about this. We've talked about this several times throughout this relationship psychoeducation group, and I know this may be something you're probably like, oh, well, that's cliche, so on and so forth. But it really does help, folks. We see couples all the time who have been through um, these times of infidelity, and let me tell you something: it can be repaired, right? A relationship can be brought back together. As bleak as it seems, it can be made. Uh, it can be mended, right? The relationship can be brought back. Let me put these captions back on real quick. Um, it can be repaired, but counseling is one really great way where it can be worked through, it can be worked on, it can be repaired. That's what we do and with couples, is try to help them through these things. And we've gotten training, we've gotten experience seeing couples, and so we can help here at Joanna Snow Ministries. But there are also so many others. There are counseling experts out there who their line of expertise is helping couples who have been through betrayal, right? And it can, and the psychoeducation group, I hope, can be helpful for you, but there's nothing like going to a counselor and getting professional help. It is so important. And so seeking that professional help, seeking counseling, can really help you bridge that gap and work through the healing. And that's what we want to do. We want to save marriages, right? We believe that that's what's best, is to save marriages, to save those relationships. So seek counseling, because we can try to help you through the break in the relationship, the lack of trust, so on and so forth. Number two, I'd say don't make rash decisions. So when you're hurt, when you have been betrayed, it may it may lead to you trying to make some rash decisions like, okay, we just have to cut this off. Like, we just have to cut this relationship off, or, like, I've got to get back at them or something like that. Don't make rash decisions. As I know, as it's easier said than done, but it's easy to rush into doing something that you're going to regret later. So give yourself some time to think about it. Give yourself some time to process the action that's happened, the break in the relationship, the break of trust. Allow yourself to process through that a little bit and kind of soak it in before you just decide, oh, we got to get a divorce, or oh, we've got to break up. Don't make a rash decision. Don't rush into something like that. Uh, get some help first. Get some thoughts from friends first, so on and so forth. Like, don't rush into doing something that you're later gonna regret. All right, that's number two. Number three, talk about the betrayal openly. Talk about the betrayal openly. If you uh, want to make this work at all, there's got to be some discussion. There's got to be open communication about it. And here's what ends up happening is that the person who has betrayed, right? The person who has committed the cheating, has committed the adultery, um, they are going to likely feel some really intense feelings of guilt, some really intense feelings of, sadness and shame, even though they were the ones who did it, right? They're going to feel that sadness. They're going to feel that guilt, that shame. And so they may not just come out and share everything that happened. They may be ashamed of the details. They may be ashamed of what they've done. And so they may not come forward immediately with all the details. And that's okay that it doesn't come out at first. But what does matter is that it does eventually come forward. I'm not talking about everything down to the T. Like, I don't think you have to know every single detail about everything that happened. Maybe you do. Maybe you do want to know those details. And if you do, I think it really is on the partner who's been betrayed. If they want to know those things, I think they have the right to know those things. But I'm not. What I'm saying is, I don't think you have to know every single detail down to, you know, I don't want to get graphic, but like, you know, like what position they were in or things like that. You don't have to know those types of details. If you want to, I think it's on the betrayed partner, the one who has been betrayed. They have the right to know. Um, but like, what I'm saying is that the details do need to come out, right? There needs to be open and honest communication about what happened, and the why behind what happened, right? And so the it takes some honesty from the partner who did the betraying. It takes some uncomfortable conversations, but that helps. That open and honest communication, like just laying it all out and not hiding something, because if you're hiding something, it's eventually going to come forth. It just is. That's what happens. It's going to come forth. So don't hide it. Just come forth with what's happening. And it may take a little bit of time, and you may have to give them time. Those of you who have been betrayed, you may have to give them some time to come forward with this. And then finally, be accountable. Be accountable. And this goes for both sides. And you may be thinking, both sides, what do you mean? So the partner who has cheated has to come forward and just be accountable. They have to just say, it was my fault. I was wrong. Right? There's no excuse for cheating. And that's what I want to go back to the beginning, right? Like, you can't blame it on something else, right? Just because, even though your needs may have not been met, you can't say, well, that made me do this. No one makes anyone do anything. We make the choice to do those things. And so we've got to be accountable for our choices, for our decisions. And so if you have betrayed your partner, if you've cheated, you've got to come clean. You've got to be accountable for your actions and not blame the other for anything. On the flip side, we have to understand that there may have been some things that we have done in the relationship that have led to some cracks in the relationship, some breaking of the trust before the betrayal. Again, it's not an excuse for the betrayal. It's not saying that this is what made the betrayal happen, but it is coming forward and saying, you know what? I haven't been meeting your needs. I haven't been doing A, B, C, or D, or I have made you angry so many times. And it's coming to realize that, you know what, I have done some things wrong in this relationship. Now, again, that does not excuse the cheating. That does not say, you know what, you are right to cheat. Absolutely not. There's never a right. There's never any right time to cheat or to betray your spouse or your partner. There's nothing right about that. All I'm saying is that it's good to be able to realize that, you know what, both parties have done wrong in the relationship, right? Both parties have contributed to things that happened before the betrayal, right? And if that's happened, then we need to come clean with that. Now, there may be some cases when, a partner just betrayed their partner when they didn't do anything wrong, right? When there was no cracks in the relationship beforehand. And that's really, that's when that partner's really got to come clean and say, it's just me. Like, I did this, right? And be open and honest about it. But let me tell you, it can be worked through. Like, we have couples here who have made it through infidelity and cheating and things like that. So it can be worked through. You can do it. You can heal. And let me say, I am still, early on in my process working with couples, and so I'm not the greatest expert on this. So seek professional help, seek other resources online that can help you through this time of betrayal. But know again that you are not powerless, that there is something you can do to make this right. And it can be mended. A relationship can be brought back together even after something so painful. It can work out. And we can help you with that here at Joanna Snow Ministries. I hope this was helpful in some way, shape, form, or fashion. If it wasn't, I apologize. But again, I appreciate you tuning in and hope you have a blessed day whenever you're watching. But